What's going on, everyone? This is Mark here with Anastacio and my partner James. And Century Martial Arts hooked us up and they sent us a couple of Action Flex Eskrima sticks. These guys are super good for sparring. They're good for partner training when you actually want to try to hit them and not hurt them. So they gave us, shout out to them, aka Colors. And there's a couple of things I want to tell you about this that makes this a huge game changer for us. Number one, with our old padded sticks, they hurt. They may still be padded, but you know, the whipping effect, it's not a good feeling. And you know, there's a whole debate between live sticks and padded sticks. I believe longevity-wise, for the sake of introducing stick sparring to all ages, to all people of experience, to not be intimidated by a stick, this is a great go-to. Super sturdy, they're not going to burst on you, the fabric's not going to rip, and they have like a rubber grip towards the bottom, which gives it a good weight to it and simulates it almost as if it was a real stick, and gives me an idea of being able just to hold it whether I'm padded or not. So we can get away with sparring without the pads here, which is super good. And again, for what we're going to do in this particular video, you're going to see that when I hit James, it's not going to be too bad. He's not going to flinch up or anything, and it's going to really help me with my range without having to hurt my partner or just tap sticks all day. So on the note of tapping sticks, what we want to focus on today is we want to understand why we do to-P drills. So to-P is tapping, and you can have sequences of 4 counts, 8 counts, 10 counts, whatever counts. And for instance, if we do a 4 count right now, it looks like this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and we loop it, and we can do this all day long, right? So when we do that, what we're introducing in that particular count is the attribute of slashes versus snaps. 2 of the basic ways we teach how to strike to our students here. Now, you wouldn't apply any to-P the way you practice it with a partner. So let's break down what the drill is. It's a synchronized partnership when we train. We're both practicing our strikes or our initial point of contact, but we're doing it at the same time. And by doing that, we give ourselves a little bit more of a realistic application because we can target towards a person as opposed to a bag. And also, when we're doing this, is we're teaching ourselves the resistance or the recoil that we can create when we smash sticks with each other. It's not just going to be butterflies and you know, pixie dust when we strike. There's going to be a little bit of tension. There's going to have to be a little bit of control, stability that you have to implement. But if I were to apply this 4 count, there's no way that my partner would do that unless he was like an online student and I've never met him before, or he trained on like a Thursday and I trained on a Wednesday. But there's no way that if we were 2 strangers, we started doing this, we'd end up, and this is how a fight's gonna look. There's no way. This is way too organized, way too coordinated, and with that, you're not accomplishing anything but just tapping sticks all day. So what we want to understand is that in a to-P drill, first and foremost, what it teaches us is how to train our instinct to be able to respond with a follow-up. Because you may not get the product or the outcome in which you only use 1 strike and then, ta-da, you're in the position you want to be in. So oftentimes, from this particular 4 count, I end up in a backhand or closed position, which limits my striking down to 50% in terms of choices or variations. So in this particular drill, I'm going to follow up with a low line attack to the knee. I don't have to follow up that way. There's plenty of ways that I can follow up, but physically I have to do a backhand. So the more I practice the 4 count, the more that when I do this, instinctually I might come down there and strike right away. Beat him to the punch. See, we're working kind of mid to high line right now. If I did another mid to high line, that might be a little bit more easier for him to deflect or to block. But because I switch it up to a low line, and I do a separate strike, I do a snap instead of a slash, it changes the attributes and it makes it harder for him to adjust to it. Okay, so that could be 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. It doesn't have to be that order, but that's essentially the first part of why we train this drill. So to get that a little bit more applicable, you can start to fraction down your to-P if we're working with a 4 count. And again, you can do this with any count, but if we're working with a 4 count, we can look at angle 1 as our initial contact. So you see right there, James struck through. So I may not have that angle to work, but I can follow up, and then I can start to flow in whatever way I want to flow. Okay, because again, my initial contact may not be what I want, but it does put me in a position that I'll understand, and then I can follow up. And so what I'm doing is I'm fine-tuning my single Sinawali, and I'm attacking things that are particular to James, and not just we call this a standard single Sinawali, which is very generic, teaches you how to flow. That may not necessarily apply to James in this particular angle. So I'm aiming for things like shoulder, I'm aiming for things like his knee, things that aren't covered with muscle mass or fat that's going to be able to protect you from the stick. I can work my angle, go to the off angle, make him adjust. All these things I'm starting to apply and make it a little bit more realistic. Now, for the sake of the drill, you don't have to, you can do it separately. We can go 1 to 2. That brings me back to the close position again. And then from here, I can follow. Maybe this time I want to go closer because my body told me based off the snap, I loaded up that close position and I want to explode forward instead. Okay, we go forward to number 3. 1, 2, 3. I can use that. Now I'm on my forehand side. So now I'm using more of like my angle 1s, my 3s, my 5s here, right? And this brings me to his safety hand, to his other knee, to his back. And then finally with all the way to 4, I load up that open position. I fire back again. Check, maybe I go forward. This time I'm a little bit more close range, right? So I'm taking these drills that give me an instinctual follow-up, and then I'm using it to fill or to help me get to a place where now my brain can start working. I've figured out what angle we're in. I figured out what range we're in. And now I can apply my flow, my single Sinawali, my Carenza. I can apply it to the situation a little bit more clearer without having to think beforehand. If we do an angle 1, I go, I don't really like that. I strike again, and I use a different technique. That's not possible. You gotta do an angle 1. If you did an angle 1, it didn't work, you gotta flow, you gotta keep going, adapt to the situation, and then take it from there. So that is why we train the tepi-tepi. Again, we're both training at the same time, but when we're applying it, it's just me, it's just James, and you shouldn't have to do a tepi-tepi over and over and over again. It just flows, it helps you get the repetitions in, it helps you and your partner for the sake of what the art is composed of, which is a lot of flow drills, a lot of flowing transitions, and you get more reps in the less amount of time. So if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you guys check out Century Martial Arts. If you guys want to grab a pair of your own, you can use our discount code KHALID10 at checkout. So definitely hook you guys up with that, and make sure you guys get yourself some great training material, especially if you're training at home, especially if you don't have mats or anything. This is one way you can keep it a little bit more safe between you and your partner. So shout out to Century, shout out to you guys for showing this video so much love, showing this channel so much love. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. And until next time, catch you guys then.